Thank you for joining us today for the 24th meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority. And may we use our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Okay, let's see. We have a number of presentations, and I'd like to move a few things here to the front, but in the interest of time, we do have our Lake County Volunteer Network. If we could dive into that, if you want to share with us some thoughts. And
Good morning. I'm Kristen Kane, Director of the Lake County Volunteer Network, Volunteer Services Coordinator here for the Board of Lake County Commissioners. And today we would like to recognize two of our outstanding volunteers. We're giving them the Volunteer Hero Certificate of Recognition today. So I would like to recognize both Don Berlin and Deborah Hahn.
thank you, ma'am.
Good, thank you.
If we could have both Don and Deborah come up to the podium, please. And do we have the certificates? Okay.
They're right here.
All right. So both Don and Deborah have been awarded the Volunteer Hero Award for their exceptional service during this past pandemic. Don has been serving both at our mobile food pantries, very numerous ones at the Lake County Health District, the COVID vaccine hotline. He also volunteers at the Menor Senior Center food distribution, as well as the Lake County Northeast Drug Repository and Meals on Wheels. And he continued all of his service during the pandemic without interruption. And Deborah serves very faithfully at the Vineyard Food Pantry, and she never once stopped her dedication to serving at the pantry. And the most unique thing about Deborah is she does not drive and takes Lake Tran Dial-A-Ride and never faltered, not once during the pandemic. So we would like to thank her for her outstanding service.
Well, that's exceptional. Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
you. Anything you'd care to say or comment on?
I would like to
You're going to get some nice little plaques here. You're going to get baskets and plaques. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for this. I don't know if I appreciate it as much as I do my job. I like going out and helping people. And I thought working for the health department was really interesting, and we did get a lot of people signed up. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Phenomenal. Thank you.
I
Ma'am?
enjoyed my service too with Vineyard Church, the resource center. I just felt the need was there, and I'm glad I was able to help.
Fantastic. Bless you both. Can we present you our certificates? Oh, we'll walk around here. Okay? Absolutely. You might come on up here. We'll grab some photos. And we'll hold on to these for you. You both look like you got your hands
Thank you. I have to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Another round of applause.
I feel great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate what you said. Helping people fall into their work. That's
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Excellent program, and worthy and well-qualified candidates to receive that recognition. So again, thank you. And we do have our rental assistance program. Did you want to jump into that, Dave? Do we have anybody there who wants to? Marion, you want to? There you are. See, you're hiding in the corner. Usually you're front and center. While we're in the public comment, did you want to dive into that and give a... That'd be great. Well, this, we're in that public portion section. We're trying to get a few things up. If you want to give a little preview.
Okay, I'll give a preview.
If it's worth saying, it's worth saying twice, right?
Sure. Yes, and this is on. Hi, I'm Marion Norman. I'm Program Manager for Lake County Planning and Community Development. The Emergency Rental Assistance Program is coming to Lake County, and today, hopefully there'll be an agreement. It's on the agenda to be signed, and between the county and Lifeline Incorporated and Fair Housing Resource Center. The total. Thank you, sir. The total award is $6.8 million. It comes to Lake County via the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 21, and it created this Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Let's call it ERAP for short, because otherwise I'll run out of wind. So the funds can be used to help persons, tenants, and landlords, of course, catch up with rent, catch up with utilities, maintain stable housing. 90% of the funds have to go to that direct assistance. 10% is for administration and case management, because that money doesn't get spent properly unless it's in good hands to do so. The census has been tracking the issue through something called a pulse survey. I can provide a link to anyone who's interested. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we're right now on week 31 of data. Things are improving, but we still have people out there who have no faith that they can pay their next month's rent, that are fearful of eviction, that they're either almost sure, sort of likely, or not likely to be evicted. Locally, unfortunately, that pulse data is only at the state level. So to drive down a little further, I looked in the court systems of Painesville Municipal, Willoughby Municipal, and Mentor Municipal Court. There seemed to be, between January and June, 250 civil cases, 100 of which are eviction in Painesville, 220 eviction cases in Willoughby. Looks like 126 are closed, 94 are open, and Mentor, 120 civil and about 40 evictions. So that's what we're looking at, and the CDC eviction moratorium is done at the end of June. So this money is hitting a little bit later than I was hoping, but we have some very responsive partners who are ready to rise to the occasion. And in doing this, we thought, let's build on what we have. there was a flood of outside people offering help, winnowing through them through a request for proposal process. We found our local partners to be the best partners, and that's how we're moving forward. This will give them an occasion to expand staff and other technical capacity and meet this need that we believe is out there. They have had an existing program running, funded through the state of Ohio, since about, I think, April or so of last year, in various permutations of assistance. So this will help them meet a continuing need.
Excellent background. I believe that's agenda item number 12.
All right.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say yet again, thank you personally for all that you're doing. Although those funds may be arriving a little later than you expected, the big reason they are arriving is because of your efforts. You took up the challenge to seek out these funds, which I believe the term is they were permissive. They had to be asked for.
Yes, sir.
And you did not let me down when I said, please, go forth.
Yeah.
You did. And it was to your credit, and to the people of Lake County.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Well, and thank you, because you've also been a valuable asset in helping the people of Lake County and educating me in particular. It's a subject near and dear to me, and you've been a great ally in that. Okay. So I look forward to further discussion at item 12, but again, thank you for the background.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and dealing with all happy notes, Vanessa from our Public Defender's Office. We are honored today to be announcing a very special program. We've been talking about it for several weeks now. It's a criminal justice community engagement and outreach program. Vanessa, did you want to discuss that? Vanessa is our Chief Public Defender, Vanessa Platt, and she has been a tremendous partner in this process. So with that.
Good morning, thank you. I spoke to the Commission a little bit about this program last week, and so to review some of it for the community members maybe who haven't heard of it. The aim of this program is to increase community involvement in the criminal justice system, as well as to assist individuals who've been incarcerated, be it in prison or jail, as they return to the community, the goal being for them to live crime-free, productive lives and to reduce recidivism rates. The genesis for the program began several years ago. An individual by the name of Bishop Roderick Coffey, he's now passed away, but he was the senior pastor at the Union Community Church in Concord Township. He also was a well-known, respected, and loved community leader, and he was very committed and devoted to the idea of justice and racial justice in the criminal justice system, as well as community involvement. So he was part of a group called Begin the Conversation. This group, I'm a member of it too. The prosecutors and member commissioners are, various other folks in the community, police chiefs, church community leaders. They're all part of Begin the Conversation, and we formed about 7 years ago to address race relations and justice in Lake County. So Bishop Coffey's focus was always get the community involved, and without that, we can't be as successful as possible. So he and Commissioner Hammercheck came to me one day several years ago and said they had an idea for a community liaison type position. Perhaps it could be a program could be developed and run through the Public Defender's Office. So we worked on developing that, and then COVID came and we had to put it on the back burner. So I'm very grateful, though, that we're back here today talking about it again. The idea behind the program, as I indicated, is to involve the community in the criminal justice system. I have a number of attorneys that work for me, and we often get cases sometimes that we are working on that we could use some help from the community, but we don't have the connections. So our idea was to bring in someone from the community who has various connections with it to help us and assist us with family members, with residents, with employers, as we work through the criminal cases at the very beginning to reach resolutions, and then afterwards. So our community engagement coordinator would help the attorneys with that as directed, so that there would be involvement of the community in the criminal justice system. And we're public defenders, we're in courts every day. It certainly made sense when Commissioner Hammercheck and Bishop Coffey came to me that it be run through our office. The other idea too is that our community coordinator, that he coordinate with the groups that are out there. For example, Lifeline has a reentry coalition, and there's other groups that are out there that he can coordinate with and assist individuals as they return from prison and incarceration. And many of our folks, many of them are low-level crimes. They have drug or alcohol problems that led them to us in the first place. Some are mental health issues. We have a social worker that addresses those issues, but our idea for the coordinator was to work beyond that. The other thing that he or she will assist us with doing is to present community forums if necessary, and also some clinics where we can address things such as renewing people's licenses, getting them licensed, driving privileges, addressing expungements or sealing of the record, because those are things that hamper them in their employment. So that is, in a nutshell, what the program is about. I'm very excited and grateful that it is becoming a possibility. I'm very thankful to commissioners for considering it, to Bishop Coffey for even thinking of such a community liaison type position, and finally the Clerk of Courts, Faith Andrews, because I did approach her. I know that she has her staff works very hard to produce excess title funds that go into our general fund, and it leaves some extra funding available, and I approached her for her support, so I'm very grateful for that.
Fantastic. Yes, I must say, working with Bishop and you was truly a blessing. I was honored that Bishop trusted me to help get this thing across the finish line, and you've been a tremendous asset in that. I believe the Ohio Public Defender is looking very favorably upon this. We are, from what I understand, the only program of this type. There's other programs that have similar traits, but this one's very specific in how comprehensive it is.
I did approach them when we were playing around with the idea of how to proceed, and they indicated there was no other similar program. Then COVID came, as I said, we took a break. I checked again, and there is still no program that's exactly like this, run out of a county public defender's office. So they are very excited and interested to see how it develops.
Fantastic. If you could stay available, I'm sure there'll be more questions, but we do have the Bishop's wife with us here today. Ma'am, is there any comments you'd like to make as we continue with this process?
On behalf of my husband and the entire family, my sons and my daughter, we appreciate you keeping our husband's, my husband's legacy alive. And my thought is, I'm not even sure if you have named this, but I would like to see it be named as the Bishop Roderick A. Coffey, whatever, if it has not been named. I would appreciate that consideration.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
Mr. President?
Sir.
If I could just say, I would certainly second that motion, because Bishop Coffey's work with our president, John Hammercheck, really is revolutionary. This would be a first in the state program. This will be a first in the state program to ensure a higher level of access to justice for people who don't have the benefit of a social network, of unlimited money, and the ability to really take care of themselves. Lake County is and always has been a family. We try to take care of our own. And Bishop Coffey and President Hammercheck working together to create this program with our Public Defender's Office is a real example of that. In my other life, I'm a law professor, so I'm very passionate about issues of justice. And when I see us recognizing this need, I'm really proud of Lake County. We've always had victims' rights advocates, and that's so important. And our county prosecutor has been so supportive of that program. But we also need to take care of people, even those who've made mistakes, because you're not supposed to add punishment on top of punishment. The law sets the punishment, but it shouldn't be compounded by being unable to access your rights, to ultimately recover, rehabilitate, and have a job. And so this program, what I hope will be known as the Bishop Coffey Program Coordinator, is an opportunity for us to give second chances to people who want it, who deserve it, but can't get there on their own. So rest his soul. Thank you to Bishop Coffey, because his legacy will never end.
Well said. Thank you. I see we have Deacon Jones, President of the Lake County branch of the NAACP. Sir, I know you've been very supportive along with the overall organization, and as one of the founding members of Begin the Conversation.
I think
If you could, the microphone, because the folks watching, they're never going to hear you. And I'm sure what you have to say is well worth hearing. He's so soft-spoken.
it is really a rare opportunity that we have now of being able to work with leaders, being able to get things done. We got a lot of people involved that's out here that's doing a lot of things in order to make a lot of things different in this world. And we're just so thankful that, and I'm happy for this award for Pastor Coffey, absolutely, period, because it just says that even though you may be gone on from this world, your work can continue on going, and his work is continue on going. And Mr. Commissioners, all of you guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ron, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would just like to mention, I think this really helps fill a gap in our justice system that's existed for a long time, where folks, they go through the process, the legal system, they pay their penalty, they serve their time, they're released, but then they simply drift back into their old community, their old friends, their old network. In many cases, the very things that brought them to that point of being plugged into the legal system, some violation, some rule breaking, some lawless action. They're just returned to that again because they're living in that same environment that fostered that kind of activity. But this program walks them through that with community involvement. You know, it gives them opportunities to have access to employers, to know how to react when they meet an employer. These are things that are covered to a certain extent now, but this just amplifies what we already have in place. I think this really fits the needs we have today. You know, people are looking for opportunities to make their lives better, and I think this gives them that opportunity. So, really appreciate all you folks. Mr. President, Mr. Hamercheck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hamercheck, as always, done a great job, and we'll be happy to include your husband's name in this process. I think that's not just a simple request. That's a reality that needs to be recognized. That he was the one that led this. It was his idea, his vision that made it happen. So he should be included in this. So, thank you.
Well said. Thank you. County Administrator Jason Boyd, I believe you have a statement from our Clerk of Courts, Faith Andrews. Faith Andrews could not be with us here today. She is at a Clerk of Courts Association event out of the area, but she did trust us with this. So Jason, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. On behalf of our county clerk, just wanted to enter a statement into the record on this fabulous program. Begin quote, "While I never had the opportunity to meet the late Bishop Coffey, hearing the stories and seeing the impact he had on his community speak to his character and devotion to his neighborhood. This project is the culmination of his lifetime of work, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Ensuring that individuals don't return to the criminal justice system after they have paid their dues to society is the key to allowing individuals to put down roots and strengthen our communities. This program will go a long way to giving the individuals the tools they need to successfully rejoin society and keep from returning to the criminal justice system." End quote. Clerk of Court Andrews. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk of Court Andrews, she is providing the funding from surplus from the Certificate of Title Fund. She believes deeply in projects such as this because of the value to our greater community, and she's also been a great partner to us in moving things forward. I believe we have Dave Lima in the audience. I know Dave's been a citizen who's been watching this keenly through the process. Dave, I believe you had some words you wanted to share. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Lima, 7774 Litchfield Drive in Mentor. My comments may not be necessary based on the previous comments about this particular program, but since I wrote them, I would like to share them with you. I am in favor of the Lake County Public Defender's proposal to create a community engagement and outreach program. The program has the potential to positively impact the negative societal consequences associated with criminal convictions. This program would add to the Public Defender's Office the ability to assist individuals in leading law-abiding, productive, and meaningful lives. The program will employ personnel to work with family, friends, and the Lake County community to identify and help mitigate disparities found within the criminal justice system. Collaboration with community resources to address economic, social, and emotional issues facing those who find themselves enmeshed in the criminal justice system is critical to reducing crime. It is well known that the main driver of crime is the socioeconomic ills found in many of our communities, especially communities where the poor and people of color reside. Former U.S. Attorney Justin Herdman and Amy Blasher, the FBI Chief of Criminal Statistics Management, testified to this fact recently at the Reduction of Crime hearing held before the Presidential Commission on Law Enforcement and the Administration of Justice. This program is only one of many other programs within the restorative justice system, a system designed to repair harm and rebuild relationships in the community. Issues related to sometimes confusing and complex criminal justice system could be more adequately addressed by this program. Along with addressing issues on a client-by-client basis, it would provide educational opportunities for our community to learn more about the criminal justice system and its complexities. Thank you, and I'm confident that we will receive a positive vote. I have a second comment that I'd like to make, if it's appropriate to do so now.
If you don't mind, if we could just focus on this, and I'll be glad to give you an opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for understanding. And Dave, thank you for your support of this program. Anyone else in the audience wishing to comment on this program? Okay, if I could just close with these thoughts. My time with Bishop Coffey was very special. I believe it's safe to say we became friends. Bishop Coffey was a mentor. He was open to sharing and educating me, and he was also open to learning the technical nuances of how, dare I say, the system works. And as we better understood the needs and the available resources, we had a meeting of the minds. I recall being able to speak at Bishop Mirabel's ordination, and after that, then Pastor Coffey, then later Bishop Coffey, saying, "That man knows Jesus," because I spoke from the heart and I let the Spirit guide my steps. I could not conceive in the weeks before Bishop Coffey's passing, when he said, "I know you'll get this done," how deep that was. And I appreciate all the support of the family and our staff, of the Public Defender's Office, and all the support folks that I know Vanessa put countless hours into, the support of my colleagues, encouraging me to continue with this. The legacy of Bishop Coffey is more than just a name on a program. The legacy are all the lives that were touched. I know Bishop Coffey was a man of God. He had a presence. He has a presence with us now. He is loved and will not be forgotten. The guidance that he gave us will persist and we shall continue to follow God's will in ways that are pleasing to Him, and we shall do it for the benefit of our community. And with that, is there anything else anyone would like to add? Okay, and now this is purely technical, but if you're looking in the agenda to see where this specifically is, it's actually in the finance section, because we had to create a line item to create it, which is why we're bringing it forward now during the public comment section. You're all welcome to stay to continue on with the agenda items, but if you want to skedaddle now, would be a good time. So, and I believe skedaddle is a term of art. So. Okay, jumping into our agenda. Oh, I'm so sorry. Jennifer Bell, our clerk, just saved my bacon. Dave, I am so sorry. I was ready to jump into the agenda. If you want to come and share your other thought, thank you for your understanding. And Jennifer, thank you for that reminder. I was ready to dive right in.
Again, Dave Lima, 7774 Litchfield Drive, in Mentor. I attended the jail work session held after the regular meeting last Thursday. It was an interesting meeting. Various issues were discussed, and since the public was not a participant in the session, a number of issues came to mind that I want to bring to the Commissioner's attention with the hope that they will be discussed in future jail work sessions. First, I support Commissioner Young's suggestion that the state be invited back to Lake County for a sit-down meeting to discuss the jail and their views concerning it. There does seem to be conflicting views held by them and some of the data that we have and the views held by the sheriff and his staff, specifically jail population and capacity. There's no question in my mind that various parts, the physical structure of the jail, need repaired, restored, or replaced. We requested information concerning past jail studies and was able to review those materials. And I would like to share some of the most significant findings revealed in those reports. The findings of the condition assessment and master plan noted that it would take $18 to $20 million to restore the old jail that would last for 25 years. In today's dollars, that might be 20 to 30 million. Some escalation of those costs would be expected. The proposal for a new jail is to increase the beds to 526. Based on current numbers available that we have, that would result in an overcapacity of approximately 200 beds. Statewide bail reform will likely keep the jail population on the light side rather than increasing incarceration numbers. It's important to point out that this report and projections did not take into consideration future socioeconomic conditions, future law enforcement policies and practices related to arrest and detainment, community treatment, and restorative justice programs. Another report concluded that nothing structurally observed or revealed that would indicate significant issues regarding the substructure of the building. Further, they concluded executing a well-designed restoration program which included properly, comprehensively, and thoroughly performing all the restoration repairs and replacement, along with all of the maintenance items, would put the facility in a position to perform as it was originally intended and make it a structure that would be economically maintainable. The assumption is that the jail population will grow. These projections, locally and nationally, have been found to be highly unreliable, as is projections regarding and concerning the generation of revenue. We recently received jail population for the years 1993 through 2017 that indicates the average jail population to be 349. However, the data does not include recent data for years 2018, 19, and 20. More recent data would be critical in determining the trend of jail population. In addition, the jail population data needs to be more descriptive, more than just felony versus misdemeanor and sentenced versus unsentenced. For example, it would be helpful to know how many housed in the jail are there for violent crimes versus nonviolent. How many are there because of the inability to make bail? I also understand that the average length of stay is 26 days. If so, attempts at treatment at mental health problems and substance abuse problems really is an act of futility. As a retired mental health professional, I can attest to that. Finally, we've reviewed the Ohio incident-based reporting data provided by the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services. The data contained 8,000 line items of data for Lake County. We found that most of the descriptors for the reasons why individuals were in the Lake County Jail does not appear or do not appear to be related to felony crimes. Comments made in the work session indicated that bail reform would have no impact on reducing jail population because our common pleas judges are already implementing the provisions proposed in the new legislation. I would like to see that data that supports that view. In addition, I think it's critical to bring the judges into the public discussion to provide needed insight surrounding jail and their sentencing procedures. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the details always. Okay, do we have anyone else in the audience wishing to address the board in the first public comment section? Jason Boyd, County Administrator, do we have any electronic submissions?
We do not.
We do not, indicating none. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, unless I'm missing something. Now we good? Oh, bless you. Thank you, ma'am. First agenda item, please.
In the Utilities Department, resolution providing for not to exceed $3 million in notes for lift station improvements, Adams, Melridge, and Industrial Park Project 415S 2018 for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Randy, did you want to give us a little background on that one?
This is a project that we are taking advantage of the low interest rates to get an extra project in this year, and so we're taking out notes for this one.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving plan specifications and estimates of cost in the amount of $354,150 for the Lake County Solid Waste Facility Perimeter Security Fence Project number 444L and advertising for bids for the same, bid opening July 7, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract to Osborne Concrete and Stone Company for limestone for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract to Arms Trucking Company for sand for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
And Job and Family Services Department, resolution authorizing execution of an amendment number 1 of the subgrant agreement between the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and Local Workforce Area 5, Lake County, for the receipt of funds from the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act WIOA, and other federal workforce-related funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Suzanne, there's a number of items before us today from your department. Did you want to address them as a block, individually? Or are you good with things as they stand on the face of it? How would you like to proceed with some of these?
I think we could address them individually.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anything you'd care to comment on this resolution?
Sure, just to provide a little bit of background, Job and Family Services is the fiscal agent for our Workforce Development Board. And the Workforce Development Board provides direction and oversight to the county's publicly funded workforce initiatives. I did ask the Workforce Development Board's Special Projects Manager, Bob Dawson, to be here today in the event that there are any specific questions with the proposed resolutions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, anything for Mr. Dawson? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of a sub-grant agreement between the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and Local Workforce Area 5, Lake County, for the receipt of funds from the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and other federal workforce-related funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Suzanne, anything? Just on the face of it?
Correct.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of a service agreement between Lake Tran and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services to provide transportation services to eligible Medicaid clients under the Non-Emergency Transportation Net Program in an amount not to exceed $588,562.50 effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Suzanne?
Job and Family Services is fortunate to partner with Lake Tran to provide this service. None of the dollars that are used to implement this service are local dollars. These are all dollars received from the state and from Medicaid to provide this service to members of the community who are eligible for Medicaid services. And we feel that it serves the members of our community very well and are pleased to present this today.
Very good. And just by way of background, in the past, previous discussions on similar resolutions, Lake Tran also, this is not part of the subsidized funding that they receive from the federal government for the normal paratransit mission that they carry out. So to your point, this is not causing an impact on Lake County taxpayers or ratepayers, depending upon your perspective.
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there further discussion? Yes, Commissioner Young.
Yeah, I'm supportive of this program, but I did have a question. It's non-emergency transportation program. What's the definition for non-emergency transportation?
These are for routine medical appointments that our Medicaid providers would need to attend.
I see. Okay. Just checkups and
Correct.
maybe some. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of a contract between the Lake County Workforce Development Board and the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services to serve as the one-stop operator for the Ohio Means Jobs Lake Comprehensive Career Center.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Again, Suzanne, anything?
Just that the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services does house the one-stop center, and we are pleased to continue to do that.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. If there's no further discussion, Madam
Mr.
Clerk?
President?
Oh, sir.
If you could describe the one-stop center a bit, I think it would be good for the public to know.
Mr. Dawson, do you want to head up there and provide some specific details on the one-stop?
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. Excuse me, the One-Stop Center is probably best defined as the hub for the public workforce services in Lake County. It's the receiver of the federal workforce retraining funds, and it's where we send all of the people that need career services, retraining, job, any kind of job services. And it's once every 4 years, the Workforce Board is required to actually do a formal bid procurement on an operator for that facility. And this follows a federal procurement process that just recently ended. And this is a decision and agreement that would be in place from July 1st of 21 through June 30th of 25.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plečnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of service contracts between Catholic Charities Corporation, Ohio Guidestone, United Labor Agency, and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services to provide workforce services for program year 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Suzanne, anything?
No, just that the agencies recognized in this resolution are our vendors and our training providers that assist the clients that we work with.
And they're longtime partners.
They are.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plečnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving Lake County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant June 25th, 2021, in the amount of $435,683.75.
Move to
approve.
second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plečnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing execution of a contract between the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Stormwater Management Department and River Reach Construction for the Brightwood Lake Dam Removal and Kellogg Creek Stream Restoration Project through the Water Resource Restoration Sponsor Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. I see we have Tim Miller with us. Tim, would you care to give us some background on this? This is a rather interesting and unique project.
Yes, Commissioner. Excuse me. Yes, Commissioners. As you're aware, this has been a long-standing project that we've been seeking funding for. And in 2018, we were able to secure a grant in the amount of $1,573,000 from the Water Resource Restoration Sponsorship Program. And we began discussions back in 2018 to find a design-build team to do this project. And of course, then we came into COVID-19 and kind of put things on hold. Ohio EPA was working remotely and so on and so forth. But finally, we have been able to get the approval from Ohio EPA that our contracts are good. The contracts have been approved by EPA, County Drainage Engineer, the Prosecutor's Office, and they've been signed by River Reach Construction. And we are ready to execute those contracts through the Board of Commissioners in the amount of $1,325,000. The contractor submitted a bid of slightly less than the grant to allow for any cost overruns that may come up into play. And according to the schedule provided to us by our contractor, we hope to have the dam removed by the end of October and begin stream restoration in the early spring, with the stream being completed by the end of 2022.
Very good. Any further discussion?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Curiosity more than anything else.
Mhm.
You talk about stream restoration.
Mhm.
What does that mean exactly? I mean, does it mean redigging the channel or digging a more efficient channel than?
Well, essentially, Commissioner, what this process will entail, once we remove the dam, streams are obviously natural waterways, and once we remove the dam, the stream will essentially start to find its own pattern. And so while that material is dewatering over the winter of 2021 going into 2022, we should have a pretty good idea of where that stream wants to be, if you will, with the meanders and the curves.
Yeah.
And so then our contractor will come in and enhance and solidify those areas to minimize erosion, and then we will do what we call native plantings. So plant with species that are native to the area, not invasive species. And again, that's to enhance water quality and enhance the environment.
What if the stream wants to be in someone's backyard? I mean, what
Well,
happens in a case like that?
Well, we do have provisions for that. Each property owner around the lake, there were a total of, I believe, 45 in total, and we were able to secure 40 environmental covenants. And what that means is that 40 of the residents around the lake granted us essentially an easement through their backyard for that purpose. If the stream ends up in their yard, so we can do plantings, again, minimize erosion, grade their yard out so it's a nice smooth transition down, down to the stream.
Okay, very good.
So, and those, I should say that all of those environmental covenants were given to the county and the township voluntarily. So it was not anything like an eminent domain or a take, if you will, of their property. So they voluntarily submitted an easement to us, or granted an easement to us.
Yeah, and you probably have some idea currently as to what direction the stream will want to take, right?
Well, what we have is prior to the dam going in, which was 1960 or so, we do have original aerial photos of that stream back from the 50s. So we have an idea of how it was naturally, and so our contractor will try to mimic that pattern as best he can.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Very good. Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Gills, county engineer.
Yeah, I would like you to vote for this particular project. I started pushing this project along with Tim's help when I came into office in 2021 or 2001. Gee, this is 2021. I'm all right. Anyways, I'm so excited about this, but
You don't
I've been
look like-
involved down there ever since the original design, off and on for more years than I like to even talk about. So I'm glad to see that, and I want to see this project go before I croak, which may not be too long for now at my age.
Hey, now.
So would you
That's twice
please
you've made
vote
this
for
kind of
it?
joke. Stop that.
Thank you.
Now, I have to confess, when you were trying to get my attention there, I thought, oh dear Lord, I can see that twinkle in his eye and that smile on his face. He's going to say the direction of the water is flowing is downhill. I thought that was coming. That was actually a very nice.
I was being nice.
Yeah. Bless you. Thank you, sir.
But yes, to mimic, or to echo Jim's point, we all are very excited to do this, especially the dam owners, because one of the
There's a comma in there, right?
yeah, one of the reasons that this project has come to fruition is that the dam is privately owned and has been declared by ODNR not to be in compliance with the regulations. So the dam owners were basically required to bring the dam up to current standards, which we estimated to be close to $5 million, and of course they could not afford that. So by putting the project into an environmental covenant so that the county and the township will hold that easement, if you will, and an EPA report that listed the dam as being an impediment to fish passage, it became allowed to have this funding source be applied to it.
And by way of background, and also a certain irony here, we could get funding because of an impediment to fish, but the downstream side of this are occupied homes that were in the inundation path where loss of life if catastrophic failure to work
Correct.
occurred. We can get funding for fish, but not people, so.
Well, yes.
Just get that little editorial in there, but that is a very real thing, that concern will be finally addressed.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners and Lifeline Incorporated and Fair Housing Resource Center Incorporated for the implementation of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, ERAP funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion, we did lead in with a little presentation in the beginning of public comments. Did you want to elaborate or go into a little more detail there? I realize that's the same thing, but I'll just say it a different way.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. We do have some enhancements that we're adding to the existing program. Like I had mentioned before, Lifeline has been implementing those state funds with Fair Housing Resource Center's assistance triaging. If I can approach you, I will
Thank you.
share with you some of their posting.
Thank you, ma'am.
They've used Facebook extensively, as well as contact within the community with courts, with mayors and managers, you name it. They know how to get the word out. The executive director of Lifeline is here with us today and can maybe share a couple more statistics of what's been happening so far. But one main thing that I wanted to let people know is at some point next week, we do have a special phone line that will be activated to help track the influx of callers that will be tapping into the county's portion of these funds. And we captured, how we like our acronyms. So it'll be 350-3727, which spells out ERAP. So, and stay tuned for more innovative ways of getting this money out the door. We have done the reporting required of Treasury. That was kind of a trip getting into their very secure system. And there'll be a June quarterly report that will have something of content. I'm looking forward to that. But if you have questions, sir, please have at it.
Question.
Please.
How many people do you expect are qualified at this point?
From the basis of the census stats that we have, which are pre-COVID, of the 25,000 or so renter households in Lake County, about half of them would be income eligible at that 80% of median income and below. So there is a pool there of 12,000 households. Again, people who have been impacted by COVID have been above that income level and are suddenly now at that income level. So it is a little hard to say. I would anticipate that we'll be helping at least 5,000 households. But time will tell.
It's just over $6 million, I think.
Yes, it's over $6 million of funding.
Okay.
Okay. And we can.
Is that the only, there's more criteria than that, isn't there? Just median income?
It's median income, it's you've experienced a COVID hardship in some fashion, whether you've lost a job, lost hours, and thereby lost income, you were physically and medically impacted by COVID, you needed to step away from your job to provide care to someone who was ill, or to care for, sometimes those students need a little bit more supervision at home than just their computer. All those things could factor in to establishing a COVID-related hardship. Also current and past unemployment.
And how soon need they apply, the folks?
Well, it's on them. People, I'm sure landlords have been very patient as things have progressed. The funds, this particular pool of funds is available through the end of next year. And then that second award of this similar funding, that goes out through 2025. So the guidance out of Treasury has emerged over time. I expect that there will be modifications.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, did you want to add anything to the discussion?
I just have
Carrie Dotson, Lifeline.
Yeah, I can just add some statistics of what
Thank you,
we've
ma'am.
seen so far.
Yes, that'll be helpful. And I believe your organization also has a similar program, so you have a great deal of experience in this area. So
We do. Yeah, we have been fortunate to date to bring in about $30 million in home relief funding for Lake and Jaga counties. We serve both counties. Several of those sources allow for utilities and mortgage and rent assistance, so the whole spectrum of housing assistance. Some of them are focused solely on the rental properties and the utilities. We did receive the state grant, the exact identical grant to what the county is receiving back in March, so we've been working with the Treasury on that exact program since March. So since we first started serving in November, we've done 720 Lake County households. So those are households that have been impacted by COVID in some way. We're seeing a lot of industries that were kind of decimated by the pandemic, a lot of folks in the event industry, so DJs, photographers, limo drivers, things that you don't necessarily think about, but were severely impacted when events were put on hold. A lot of folks from the hospitality industry, hotels, restaurants, that sort of thing. So we've seen a surprising number of two-parent households who went down to one income when mom or dad had to stay home to remote school kids, and that significantly impacted their lifestyles. So 720 households. We've spent just under $2 million since November. So we're excited to continue to do that, and we appreciate your support.
excellent, thank you. Very good.
Mr. President?
Sir.
I just want to amplify the point that this was not a federal program where every county, every agency received a certain amount of money. It required our program director, Marion Norman, it required our staff to reach out, apply, and win this grant back to Lake County. So it's not just a participation trophy. It really was hard work that significantly benefited our residents, and we really want to say thank you for doing that hard work, because that's almost another $7 million to help ease this transition back to fully reopening Lake County, recognizing that along the way, many people lost their jobs, lost their businesses, and need a little help so that we can get back open, get back to work. And that's really the direct consequence of the hard work of our staff here in Lake County, in particular Marion Norman. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Plashnik. I appreciate it. David just reminded me of one other thing that maybe I didn't play out as much previously, but it's not just a tenant that can apply. A landlord can apply and then coordinate with their tenant. Landlords have been impacted as well, and I think it'll showing up in the housing market. There's a lot of listings of some of those smaller landlords that have a single family, a duplex, a quad. So hopefully this can intercede and keep people where they need to be.
I've been a tenant and a landlord over the years, and neither is an easy job, so that's good to hear that the help is there for both. But I believe these are really community conversations here at the Board of Commissioners. These are public conversations, so I think it's worth the advertisement that if you're interested, if you need more details and application information, quite literally, contact 211 Lake County or call 440-639-4420. For anyone watching, that's 440-639-4420 to learn about our emergency rental program and how to apply. Thank you.
And just to
Yes, sir.
add on to what you just added, in addition to the renters, the program clearly talks about landlords, the economic impact to property owners. They have to be making their mortgage payments. Mm-hmm. The banks are not necessarily being very forgiving, so this does help our landlords as well as the renters. It does keep our economy in Lake County strong, and it is tailored to have a positive impact overall. Is there any more you wanted to add to that?
No, I think.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Any
you.
further discussion, gentlemen? All right, and with that, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you all.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $1,669,521.05.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $803,180.23.
Move to approve?
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash and appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve?
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Okay, this brings us to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Utilities, Randy?
Nothing to report today, Commissioner.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Job and Family Services? Suzanne, anything additional?
I just wanted to report that this past Tuesday, June 15th, was World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, as we discussed last week in the meeting, and several of our staff participated in events throughout the county on Tuesday to shed light on this devastating issue. Our staff, in partnership with the Association of Specialists in Aging, placed purple and white silhouettes outside of Life Brand Cowboy Church on the corner of Fairgrounds Road and Route 20. I've driven past them several times this week. And those silhouettes symbolize the aging population and serve as a reminder to our community that elder abuse does exist in Lake County.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Anything else for Suzanne? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on. County Administrator Jason Boyd.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just briefly, as we still kind of discuss the COVID response, just online a minute ago, Governor DeWine, I don't know if you guys have seen this, tomorrow at noon, he's going to end the state emergency as it relates to COVID-19. So future discussion that the Commissioners we should consider over the next couple of weeks and how it relates to our declaration that the board passed last year. Also working with Lake Health, they will have a couple mobile clinics at the JFS parking lot. Suzanne, I don't remember the dates, but working with the Director of Nursing at Lake General Health District, Suzanne, and Mark Ifelice, there's going to be, I think, 3 or 4 mobile clinics that are going to occur over the next, maybe 3, over the next couple weeks in front of the Job and Family Services. So remind folks who are still needing the vaccine or who desire to have a vaccine will have opportunities in front of the JFS this summer. Go to Lake County General Health District's website for additional details. And that's all I have to report.
And I know this is a no surprises rule, but I'm just getting this information myself. The illustrious Ohio Department of Health is pulling back the mobile unit that our health unit is using. So as Lake County continues to lead the way in the state of Ohio, yet again, we are being penalized for performing at a high level. So if my colleagues have no objection, I would like to be calling the governor's representative and asking if we could get the Ohio Department of Health to reconsider, because we are in the process of making an offer to purchase that vehicle. And I believe Jason was commenting that would qualify under the the American
ARP.
Yeah.
And yes, so absolutely.
So forgive my frustration, but yet again, we continue to perform at a high level. And again, nothing against other parts of the state that have not taken it as seriously as us. But when you start diverting resources from the people who are actually doing the job, our percentages are high, but we still have a population of 234,000. So percentage-wise, that's great, but if you look at number of people who still need to be addressed, and we are now getting into our most challenged communities, and that's the part that I'm taking a little bit of offense to. So,
thank you.
And I know we have, again, Deacon Jones with us, who has been participating and helping our health district and working with Lake Health, now a UH component, but reaching into helping take care of people. And yet again, another tool is being taken out of our box. So that apparently is scheduled for Monday.
Okay. Did they offer any kind of a rationale as to
I'm just getting this information, and their concern is there's not enough of these units in the state, and other areas are not performing as well as us. So rather than adding resources, they're taking ours. So I think we call that redistribution of something, but I'll let you fill in the blank.
And finally, I just want to I know Mr. Gills and Tim have been working on this Brightwood Lake project for years. I know the mountain of paperwork that they've had to go through to get a project, let alone the federal dollars, state dollars, and 45 landowners. It's been a heck of an accomplishment. It's going to be a really unique project. I think there was one, Tim, Kenston Lake in Geauga County. Yeah, so it'll be a really neat project to watch. Once again, putting kind of Lake County on the map of how we handle these very complex engineering solutions. So congratulations to the county engineer and stormwater. It'll be a nice project, so thanks.
Agreed. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I just wanted to mention the next commissioners meeting is scheduled for next week, Thursday, June 24th, here at 10 a.m.
Very good. Thank you. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, old business. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Captain Brooks, I think you have an update for us from our workshop the other day.
Yes, I do.
I did speak with Joel Cummings, our jail inspector. He says they do not do needs assessments. He said they will come here to meet with you and they will do a technical assistance request. So in other words, if there's any standards that you see the jail is not following, they will do that. But as far as to tell you we need a new building, they will not do that. So if you still want them to come next week, I can call Joel and see if they're available.
Definitely.
Okay.
That's what I expected.
Okay.
Hold on, Captain Brooks. That's what you, Commissioner Young, that's what you expected?
Mm-hmm. Technical assistance.
Captain Brooks, I don't think my colleague's quite tracking on what you're saying.
Yeah, they will not come here and say that we need a new jail. This is wrong with the jail. That's wrong with the jail. If we are not following state standards, that's what they can assist you with,
Right.
getting the knowledge of.
Yeah.
Other than that, they can't say it's time to build a new jail.
Their function is not to tell us whether we need to build a new jail or not.
Correct.
But as with other jails around the area, where they've pointed out that the age and a layout of the facility does not allow this particular function to be handled as efficiently as it should be, as efficiently as state standards call for. That's the kind of a thing that they focus on. With the Ashtabula jail, when they were informed by the jail staff that the jail was experiencing these specific kinds of problems, they pointed that out and offered programs and assistance to bring them up to speed. So I think when we point out some of the problems we're having with our jail, that they could focus on those things and perhaps offer us some technical assistance in that arena. That's my hope at any rate.
Okay. I will relay that to Joel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay.
Mr. President?
Sir.
I just want to say, since Mr. Lima raised the issue, as well as we're continuing the discussion with Captain Brooks, not everyone will roll from a commissioners meeting into a work session, and I agree with Mr. Lima that it's important that those points are at least brought out or summarized. So I just wanted to share, even though it was a public meeting, I just wanted to share some of the highlights of what I thought were significant from our previous public discussion, which is, as we look at the needs of the county with respect to our justice system, we have to have a facility, we have to have a place where we can place those waiting for trial, as well as those who are serving sentences that do not entail a trip to a state facility. So we do need to have some jail facility that's accessible to us. It's a legal requirement. And the question is, what alternative is the most cost-effective, as well as effective and humane in general, that's accessible to us? And we've talked about the possibility of having the jail as it stands with no improvements, no repairs. That's clearly not an option. between the leaky roof, the plumbing issues, there will be an increasing maintenance cost on that building. So for those who suggested that the current jail could continue to be used as is with no further investment, that's simply not possible, and that would place us in a territory where the jail inspector would come and see that Ohio's minimum jail standards are not met. So if there is an option, number one, of doing nothing, that is not a legal option. Option number two would be to try to rebuild, or as President Hamercheck shared at the work session, refit the building. And we've had estimates in the $20 to $30 million range for a rebuild without an addition or a new roof. There really is not a realistic option that would not entail building a new roof. So even assuming that jail population stays the same or declines, you'd have to add to that $30-some million, somewhere between $10 and $20 million for a new roof, depending on quality, whether you leave it flat or you try to build an arched roof on the facility. If you do have to build an addition, and I'm basing my best prediction that we will have a higher jail population on the estimates from Captain Brooks, who is the jail facility administrator, as well as our Sheriff Franklin and Bruno, who was the jail facility administrator for many years prior to becoming our elected sheriff, as well as the fact that over the life of the old jail, and indeed the jail before it, we have seen a steady increase. So if over a 60-year period you see an increase along with the population of the county, it's reasonable to assume that the trend that has continued for decades will continue, unless if someone presents some pretty extraordinary evidence to the contrary. So when I hear we need evidence to assess where the jail population is going, I absolutely agree, but I think you would need some pretty remarkable evidence to suggest that a trend line that's continued unabated for decades is suddenly going to have a major shift downward. I'd certainly love to see that, because it would lower our county costs dramatically, but I think it would be overly optimistic to make that assumption, given that it contradicts the projections that we have from our jail facility administrator, as well as our sheriff, and our past experience, not over the last year, 10 years, 20 years, but really more than a half century. Given that we're probably talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million, $40 million optimistically to rehab the old jail, not including another $20 or $30 million addition for another 50 to 100 inmates. If we have that addition, then we're in the $60 to $70 million range for a refit. We talked about the possibility of having a brand new jail. We do have property in Paynesville that would allow us to construct a new jail without having to purchase additional real estate. That construction cost would likely, on the extreme low end, be $60 million, the high end be $100 million. And that would allow us to build a facility that could, assuming that the job is done right, last between 50 and 60 years. In comparison to a rehab or refit, that would last most likely 10 years, but if we're going to be optimistic, 15 years. The last option that was presented was the possibility of having multiple smaller new jails across the county. That's clearly the most expensive option. We're probably talking between $150 and $300 million at that point if we're going to have 3, 4, 5 jail facilities across the county, buying additional properties and having smaller builds. Given that there is really no articulated justification for that added expense, even though it would house the same number of inmates, I think that option is about as appealing as the first, which is do nothing and be held in violation of state standards. Spending twice the money to have multiple facilities also seems to be impracticable. That really leaves you with options 2 and 3. Do we refit the old jail and build an addition onto it if necessary, which would come to a cost of around $40-50 million without an addition, $60-70 million with an addition if the sheriff and the jail facilitator turn out to be right and our experience over the last 60 years continues and we do see that upward trend? Or do we spend $60 to $100 million on a new facility? And speaking as an accounting major, I'm concerned with the cost per year. If we get 10 years for $70 million, that's $7 million a year. If we get 60 years for $100 million, it's considerably less. I think we need to look at the cost per year in deciding what's the most fiscally responsible solution. So the conclusion that I drew from our work session is that the most affordable alternative that gives the longest useful life to the taxpayer, that allows us to have the lowest staffing levels in the jail because we can build a facility where we don't need deputies escorting inmates and doing as much manual work to move inmates from one place to another, where we have less inmate contact, less potential for violence between inmates and guards, and also less transmissibility of diseases. You know, COVID-19, bird flu, the flu, there will always be some sort of transmissible disease in a congested population that we're concerned with, and we want everyone to be safe. We want our deputies, our guards to be safe. We want our inmates to be safe. And so reducing unnecessary contact doesn't just save money, it also reduces potential for violent interactions. It reduces potential for disease transmissibility. There are a lot of benefits in addition to saving money to building a new jail. So to me, it certainly is a major investment, regardless of which of these options the commissioners ultimately cast a vote for. But I always want the most fiscally responsible. I want the most affordable solution, assuming that it is legal and assuming that it is fair and humane. And given that our sheriff and Captain Brooks, the jail administrator, both recommend the building of a new jail, given that it is the most affordable alternative based on the numbers we have in front of us, given that it also allows us to reduce staffing levels, that it reduces potential for violence, that it reduces the risk of transmissible diseases, I think that option number 3, build a new jail, clearly stands out of the pack as the most fiscally responsible, the most humane, the most considerate solution that has the lowest burden on the taxpayer. That was my conclusion from the work session, not speaking for my colleagues or anyone else, but I wanted to share those data points for anyone who didn't tune in to the work session. I know that that was a long road to hoe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything additional, Commissioner?
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
I agree with Commissioner Pleshnik on most of his evaluation. I think I came away with a very similar perspective. I do think there's one thing that I just want to, and I'm not suggesting that any of us have missed this point entirely, but it's important we remember as we go through this process that a $70 to $100 million project is the largest that's capital project that Lake County has ever entered into. It's a lot of money. And a lot of the proposals that we're looking at include the requirement for a property tax increase to afford the cost of the project. A property tax increase, given the current situation in our county economically, coming out of a pandemic that had huge impacts on our economy, on our workers, just our whole culture here in Lake County, is very difficult for me to even consider approving. And at this point, I would not consider approving, voting yes on a property tax increase. What that leads to, of course, is an increase in the cost of owning a home, buying a home, of moving to Lake County, of starting a business and building a building here in Lake County. It all adds to that cost. And so while we're talking about contemplating the need for more beds for our prisoners in the jail, we have to remember that our citizens need beds as well. So people are being turned out of their homes because they can no longer afford the rent or the mortgage. That's something we have to consider. So often in government, we look at the the cost of this specific spending. And we might say to ourselves, well, this is only an additional $200 a year for a homeowner in X value home or whatever. But that $200 can sometimes tell the difference between success or failure, whether someone can continue living the lifestyle they're accustomed to, or if that has to change dramatically. It might even involve, again, moving out of their home. So I think it's really important we consider that. So while I'm not opposed to building a new jail, I agree with the sheriff and his staff that the roof on the old building is totally unacceptable. The plumbing is in just horrible, horrible shape. Commissioner Hammercheck went through a long list of things that would have to be done to remodel, refit the existing structure. And it would be very difficult and very expensive. Our building is not in nearly as bad a shape as several other jails in our region. The state has come in and inspected those other buildings for other jails, Euclid, Ashtabula, Cleveland, House of Corrections, and others, and pointed out that due to the age and layout of those old buildings, that they just can't fulfill state functions anymore, state criteria. On the other hand, our jail has received highest marks from the state, time and time again, right up to this last inspection. So if you contrast the state of our jail with that of those in surrounding communities, not every community, obviously. Geauga has an excellent jail, from what I understand. We're doing fairly well. And there's no mention in any of our reports of problems that need to be corrected with the facility. So we're meeting state standards. But at the same time, I trust our sheriff and his staff. So if they feel that strongly that we need a new building, I'm not opposed to that. But I'd like us to somehow or another do what we're demanding of Lake County citizens, and that's find the money in their current budget to live. We ask that of them. We don't pose that question to them, that demand to them directly, but by increasing taxes, increasing spending, etc., we're putting them in a position where they have to pay for that one way or another. So what I'm suggesting is that if we're going to build a new jail, we need to find it in our current budget to afford to do that somehow. So a tax increase, at least from my perspective, is out of the picture. That's something I will not consider for the building of a new jail. So that's what I got out of our initial meeting there.
You're good?
I'm good. Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. I feel obligated to comment on Commissioner Young's statements of other jail reports. At our workshop, my takeaway was the reports are very technical. One of the things I had asked of Captain Brooks to talk to the state so that we could manage expectations, talking about scope. And Captain Brooks, I know you're still in the audience. If I say anything that's not correct, please correct me, ma'am. Thank you. For example, the Ashtabula County Jail. The age and layout of the existing jail facility does not provide an established jail security perimeter. Lake County wasn't dinged for that. Ashtabula County was. That same criticism applies directly to Lake County. I cannot speak as to why that has not been identified by the state, but that situation does exist here in Lake County. The Ashtabula, I could go on here. Many of the items that you're saying we have not been cited for, or I should not say cited because that has a specific meaning, that have been referenced do in fact apply to us, for one reason or another, they have not been memorialized. Just because it was not written down does not mean that the problem does not exist. You're entitled to your opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. The facts remain, we have significant deficiencies, although they are not memorialized as with some other facilities, they do in fact still exist. So Captain Brooks, did I word that adequately? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
So with that, hopefully the state folks will be here and we can ask them those questions directly. But I do not feel confident to just let the conversation go that because it was not written down about us, it does not exist. So anything you wanted to add, or you?
So you're suggesting that we have the problems, or we might have the problems?
I'm not suggesting, I'm saying.
Okay, you're saying we do have the problems, but for some reason the state, while they mention them for other facilities, they don't mention them for ours.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
And I do not have an answer as to why they did not choose to do that.
Okay.
But I can honestly say that, again, I will state that our jail staff, and under the leadership of Captain Brooks, Sheriff Liam Bruno, they are doing a tremendous effort to make the best of what they have. I cannot speak to the activities of these other facilities. I will look to Cuyahoga County because I think we can all agree that they have had endless problems at all levels.
Yeah.
So if you want to compare and contrast, those citations are relatively recent, as was pointed out during our workshop. Cuyahoga County just kept getting check mark, check mark, check mark, everything good. Only in recent years have they been starting to be cited on things. So again, reading very technical reports and then trying to take it just at face value and then running with it as a guide is risky at best. Okay.
Mr. President?
Sir.
Just to amplify a few things, I want to second you in saying that the work that our sheriff and Captain Brooks have done in husbanding the jail and using what was an imperfect facility and an increasingly challenging facility these years, using it well, is really the reason why you don't see these violations. The building is only part of the equation. The deputies and the staff working with that resource and going above and beyond to prevent violent situations, to prevent people from being harmed, that's a big part of the equation too. So I want to give credit there. I think that's why you don't see reports with significant violations, because even though the facility may be deficient, the people in the facility have gone above and beyond. And that's why when I hear the sheriff, that's why when I hear Captain Brooks say, we're reaching the point where we can't guarantee that even with this commitment that we're going to be able to keep everyone, our deputies and the people in the jail safe, I think we need to listen very carefully. I also want to amplify your point about Cuyahoga County. We can't talk about that situation without noting that over a dozen people in the past couple years have died in that facility, even though by and large they've passed the state inspections. There have been some minor violations here and there, but they haven't shut the facility down. The reality is it continues to operate to this day. And we have to ask ourselves, as Lake County residents, are we okay with a facility where a dozen people die? The reality is, friends, family, they make mistakes. Sometimes they have to pay a price for those mistakes. And Sheriff Liam Bruno said this at a dinner not so long ago. If my son went to prison if my son went to jail because he made a terrible mistake, I'd still want him to be safe. He has to pay his debt to society, but I don't stop loving my family member, my friend, because they've made a terrible mistake and they're held accountable for it. And the law doesn't say that going to jail is supposed to be dangerous or a death sentence. Quite the contrary, the law says when you come into the care of the state, we have an obligation to take care of you. And so I think it's really critically important that we ask, are we okay with a facility where I can't say for sure that your son, your daughter is going to come back safe, even if it passes the state jail minimum standards? I want to really echo what Commissioner Young has said. I am not at all okay with a tax increase either. I know that President Hamercheck has said, I believe I'm quoting, I have no appetite for a property tax increase. I want to echo what Commissioner Young said. I think it is our job as commissioners to find the resources to balance the budget, to pay for our county's priorities. And whether we feel a jail should be a priority or not, State law says it is. You know, we are not state reps and state senators, although Commissioner Young has served in that capacity in the past. We only implement the Ohio Revised Code. We're not here to change that policy, and we're obligated to provide a jail that is safe. And so I think that we speak with a unified voice that we really need to do the hard work of finding the money for this important priority. But I don't think anyone is proposing a tax increase to get there. And lastly, the issue of excess capacity has been raised several times. Number one, I don't think that's a reasonable statement. I believe our sheriff and our jail facility administrator, Captain Brooks, that the trend is likely to continue upwards because we've seen that trend for 60 years. And for someone to dispute it, I really think we need to see powerful evidence. Why is the sheriff wrong, who served as jail administrator? Why is the current jail administrator wrong? And what is going to stop? You know, what incredibly powerful trend is going to stop what we have seen over decades and decades of experience? But it's important to note that even if they are wrong, that's a good thing. We want less people incarcerated. If less laws are broken, if we're able to find other alternatives where it's not necessary, wonderful. Excess capacity, in all likelihood, will help us to pay for the jail. That has also been our experience over the 31 years of the old facility, that whenever we've had excess capacity, we've taken opportunities to lease that capacity to other counties and to the federal government. Geauga County's jail right now is leasing about 100 beds per year. That's $4 million per year. In all likelihood, if we had 200 free beds, I don't anticipate this, but if we had 200 free beds, we could take $8 million in a year, assuming a contract on the same terms of Geauga, which is realistic because the federal government is paying the same to all comers. And this is the direct result, by the way, of the Biden administration saying that we don't want private jails. You can agree with that conclusion, you can disagree with that conclusion, but the reality is the federal marshals are not leasing space in private facilities, they're looking to public facilities. And so there actually is a dramatically increased demand for excess capacity at county jails like ours. And we're leasing any bed space we have, but it's de minimis now. I think it's around 10 beds. So the truth of the matter is, if by some happy coincidence the sheriff and the jail administrator's projections don't come to pass and we have a lower population, in all likelihood that will be a significant aid in helping to pay for this facility. And I certainly hope that's the case. I'm not sure I share that optimism, but I'd be thrilled to be wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just add one thing to what you said, let's go with the other side of the coin. Say we do nothing and we have to just put 25 people, say, in Geauga County's facility because we do not have the room for them. That's $1 million a year additional. And then we also have the transport costs of moving people back and forth. So again, there's a number of factors all in play. Again, this is the proper venue. This is a matter subject to fair debate. And these are all the factors that we're making a concerted effort to get into the public dialogue. So if there's nothing else under old business, I'd like to move on to new business. Do we have any new business?
Just one quick point.
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you. The state has indicated, I don't have the exact verbiage in front of me, but that the maximum population, the maximum capacity for our jail, given its current condition, is 429 inmates. And the last report that I got, we were at 300. So while I share your concerns about overpopulation long term, at this point in time, it isn't as if we have to immediately slap a building together and provide for another 200 beds or whatever. We're blessed not to be in that position at this point in time. So I don't see a big rush to get this done immediately. I think we can take the time and try to find the funding. And I'm not talking about taking years and years. I'm talking about doing thorough research and very prudently making this step forward to commit ourselves to a $70 to $100 million project. But I think we're all in general agreement that something has to be done, something very seriously has to be done with the current jail, and that a simple rehab project might very well not be workable. Thank you.
Thank you. And just if I may, and again, Captain Brooks, if I say something that's not accurate, looking exclusively at available beds without taking into account male, female, mental health, violent, non-violent, we cannot mix and match those. Those are not interchangeable. So if we run out of beds on the male side, we can't start putting the dudes in with the gals. That's not going to work. You don't want to mix violent and non-violent offenders.
That's right.
So we can't just look at raw numbers. We actually need to look more detailed. And I concede this does in fact needs to be a very well thought out process, which I believe we have been engaged in due diligence over the last several years. I believe it's fair to say that many activities can take place in parallel. They don't have to be serial, so we can move with efficiency. Captain Brooks, anything I should add or to that encapsulate? Thank you, if you would.
Oh, I think the judges of Lake County have been really good to us because of COVID. We asked them to keep the population down if they could. We asked that they not sentence work release, and they've done that. Just last week we were talking to the common pleas judges, and they asked, can we start sentencing work release? We said we can take up to 10. Do we really have the room? No, we don't. If we get 2 juveniles in, and we have had up to 4 at one time, that shuts an entire range down. Those are beds that can't be used. We can't use them because you can't mix juveniles with adults. If we get a female juvenile in, we have to shut down 7 cells because she's the only one that can be in that area. So even though you see we're at 300, some of those beds can't be used, and or it's because the judges have been working with us with COVID, giving people house arrest.
Okay.
It's...
What is it? Define a cell for the folks here.
A single cell, we house 1 inmate in a single cell, or they're double bunked. We have cells that are double bunked as well.
So there could be 2 inmates.
There could be
in the
2,
cell.
and yes.
Okay.
That's designed for 1.
Captain Brooks, following up on that point, you and the sheriff shared during our work session that we actually have a variance that in the past the state has pushed back on, tried to take back, that allows double bunking. The state's not happy with it, but has continued to allow us, at least temporarily, to double bunk in some cases, and that's where the 429 number comes from. In fact, the jail, I believe, was designed for about 350 inmates. So the 400-some number is assuming that we are able to perfectly mix and match every inmate with no wasted cells, and we double bunk to the maximum of this variance, which we have had pushback on. And frankly, double bunking 2 inmates creates its own challenges, even when possible.
Yes, it does.
Am I right?
You are correct. It does create problems. The cells aren't big enough to accommodate 2. Some of those bunk beds had to be literally shaved down to fit into that cell. And it does create problems. And one thing I like to point out, you talked about Ashtabula, where they talked about the 2-way communication. We have cells that don't have 2-way communications. And it's not noted on our inspection reports, because being a jail administrator, when you have an inspection, you have to be able to work with your jail inspector and convince him or her why they shouldn't nab you on that. If we can see into that cell because it's high traffic and someone's constantly walking by, you still check it on that inmate, and that inmate still has access to the officer. So that's why some of those things are noted on our inspections. We have cells that don't have natural light, which is a standard. Joel said, you gotta have natural light in the cell. Well, Joel, if I bust the brick out, the only place they're gonna be looking into is the sally port, and they're just gonna get fumes from the cars. There's no natural light. That cell's been that way since we opened the jail. So we also have the layout of the facility that causes us not to really be able to pass a standard, but you have to convince your jail inspector, you know, it's okay. We can still work with this cell. We can still use this cell, and this is why. And I don't think they do that in Ashtabula. I don't think they do it at the House of Corrections. I don't think we don't know they don't do it in Cuyahoga.
You know, Joel did mention to me that in Ashtabula, they actually requested that they be cited.
Yes.
So that it would point out that they do have problems.
Yes, and that's true. I talked to the old sheriff that was there, and he did request that. But I don't like an F report card. I like A's.
Okay, understood.
The professor agrees.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Okay, if there's nothing further under old business, I'd like to move on to new business. Do we have any new business to come before the board? Yes?
No.
No?
Nothing.
Okay.
I was just wrestling.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, with that, we now come to our second public comment portion. Do we have any public comments? Anyone in the audience? Mr. Lima?
Dave Lima, 7774 Litchfield Drive. Two important numbers, I think, to keep in mind. 25 years of data supplied by the sheriff indicate 349 average jail population. 25 years of data. The proposal for a new jail is 526 beds. 200 more beds than the average would indicate is needed. That's a 50% increase in the number of individuals committing crimes necessitating incarceration. I think those are two very important numbers to keep in mind. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. But I believe, though, that could be an interpretation. Captain Brooks, what's our maximum authorized capacity again, please? With the variance.
With the variance, it's actually 421.
421.
If you look at our old inspection reports.
Actually, if you want to come up to the mic at this point, that's a little more technical than I'm prepared to repeat. Thank you, ma'am.
The majority of our old inspection reports state that our maximum capacity is 421. For some reason, he put 429 last year. And I don't know why. I haven't discussed that with him, but I will ask him about that.
And what was our design population before the variance?
353.
353. And that was absolute in order to comply with the state?
Yes.
That was our max, okay.
Yes.
Again, I just wanted to define the data. So, thank you. Okay, anything else? Jason Boyd, County Administrator, do we have any electronic submissions? Jason Boyd indicating?
You do not.
None. Very good, thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further to come before this board, there is a request for executive session. The topic will be legal, imminent litigation. There will be business to be conducted afterwards. There will be discussion regarding the 2021 CDBG proposed projects. Is there a motion to adjourn in the manner so indicated?
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.